before we get started, folks, make sure you hit the pause button. Okay, go down below. There's a Rumble link. Go over to Rumble and follow us over there. QFS1776.com is, without question, the holy grail of what's to come. Okay, T-shirts. You got to get yourself decorated. This way people will ask you, what is XRP? What is the quantum financial system? What is this? What is that? And you send them where? To QFS1776.com, where they need to immerse themselves, because we're going to burn down this system down to the ground. And out of the ashes will rise the phoenix. There'll be nothing to go back to. Believe me when I tell you that. Unified TV will take over Netflix. We're bringing in the next genre of movie producers and storytellers and actors and actresses. And we're telling the story of how the world is going to be on earth as it is in heaven. Gesara and Nesara is coming. Don't make no mistake about it. Gold and silver right down below. Promo code Mel Carmine. Make sure you use the promo code. Almost $8 billion in sales. We're direct to like a bunch of mints. We are the ones that can get you the gold and silver directly to your door, okay, at the cheapest price. Don't even waste your time looking for a cheaper price. It doesn't exist. Also, our Telegram groups down below. If you want to learn what's coming and you're sort of a little scared, I understand. Believe me, I was there too at one point. Our Patriots are literally waiting for you in the room. And if you need more than $10,000 worth of XRP or $1 million worth of XRP, you come see me. Send me an email at QFS1776@gmail, and we'll get you as much as you want. Well, good afternoon, folks. We got Joshua James. He's the sheriff over in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He is one of the, basically constitutionalists. We're trying to get away from the grid. We're trying to, do our own thing here and expedite Gesara and Nesara. We got my good friend Rebel Ellie. Rebel has officially been made today one of Mel's angels. I'm starting, Charlie's angels, he had 3. I'm going to have 4, okay? The 4th one is my wife. She's my nuclear weapon. She's behind the scenes. We don't make her public to anybody. Besides, she doesn't like the limelight anyway. So, but we got a lot of stuff to talk about. I know, James, instead of giving you the introduction, what do you tell the people what it is you do, how you do it, what the method to your madness is? I know that Rebel is very interested in saving the horses, and hopefully we're going to have the wherewithal, and I'm going to help her. And for all you guys who need a humanitarian project, that you have too much money, she'll be more than happy to take some of that money off your hands so that we could save the horses. Yes, the government is slaughtering wild horses, and we're going to put an end to it. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mel. So I'm Sheriff Joshua James. I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I ran for Bernalillo County Sheriff here in the Albuquerque area, but I am currently Sheriff in Bexar County for the Republic of Texas, not the state of Texas, the Republic of Texas. And I work on election integrity teams, on some of the best teams around the country. I'm fighting here in New Mexico against all the corruption, the cartels, the whole 9.
Yeah, let's try to keep our words down to a minimum, especially when we're talking about that word that happened in 2020 that starts with the letter E, okay, and ends with the letter N. What we're talking about, because if we say certain words, then we have to go back and do a lot of editing. Okay, Ellie. I know Ellie's been very passionate. I've talked to Ellie for months and months and months. She's like my sister from another mister. And, I tell you, she's very passionate. And this is going to really fix what's at hand here, is going to take passionate people who are above average intelligence. And I know that we could do it. I know we're winning by a large score. I don't think the enemy has ever scored a touchdown, at least not to my knowledge. Ellie, why don't you go and explain to the people why this horse situation is a situation that needs to be addressed?
Sure, happy to. So this is a typical problem that has been made by the establishment that nature did not participate in creating. And now the establishment solution to the problem the establishment created is a bad one. So we need to fix it. Basically, in the 17th and 18th centuries, there were cattle drives across the United States. And as part of those cattle drives, the wild horses, which inhabited areas and lands in the United States, and especially in the Western United States, that were appropriate for their grazing habits. These horses were driven into climates and terrain they are not natural to, that aren't natively part of where a horse would want to be. And the result is the horses ended up in a bunch of places that they naturally would never have gone to and were not, in fact, thriving in. They adapted, so they've survived to the present. They were protected by an act of Congress in 1971, the Wild Horse and Burro Act. That congressional bill was amended a couple of years later, thanks to some payola going to the right politicians. And when it was amended, the wild horses and burros lost their protection as American wildlife and natural resources. And there was a clause put into the amendment that said, if there were too many of them, they could be basically slaughtered, sold, rehoused, rehomed. The reality of what's going on is the horses are now in places they would never and should never have been in. The horses need to be rewilded, ideally up in Northern California, in Oregon, and other places that are not cattle appropriate lands. Those horses are natively appropriate for the regions that they should be rehoused in. And there is an organization that is doing a lot for that purpose, working to get politicians, governors, and so forth on board. That organization is called Wild Horse Fire Brigade, and they are working to get this done. However, the reality is right now these horses are being rounded up, even during full season, by helicopter. They're being slaughtered, they're being stolen. Various nefarious individuals are stealing them, slaughtering them, selling them to foreign countries, which I could name if necessary. But the bottom line is all the people know what's going on and no one's fixing it because money is going into the right people's pockets. That's why we need the help of people like Sheriff Joshua James, who's part of the constitutional sheriff's movement, which started down in Texas with Richard Mack, and my former compatriot, Robert David Steele.
Absolutely. I know you want to add some things there, Joshua, and I know you know a thing or two about this subject. So what could you add to the subject that will basically verify her story? I believe her story 100,000%.
Well, to be honest, I was working, one of my partners in the film industry, we put on a film music and entertainment festival out in California called the AMF Film Fest. And we actually had a documentary in there that Viggo Mortensen did. I can't think of the name at the moment, but it was all about the wild horses. We actually gave him the Dennis Hopper Award for that, talking about exactly what she's talking about. And then here in New Mexico, so as sheriff, I get a lot of emails on a lot of things, from the movement of humans, the theft of humans, and the theft of horses. I have a gentleman here outside of Albuquerque that he had 350 some odd horses at one point, and the cartels actually steal his horses all the time. I think he's down to like 20 or 30 horses right now. And they keep them under armed guards. They auction them off in the auctions south of here, and whatever they don't auction off, they take to Mexico for food. And of course, BLM has been stealing horses for a long time, selling them to the glue factories, selling them to the dog food companies, all kinds of things. And I've worked with horses for a long time. I was a massage therapist in Dallas for many years, and I used to massage the racing horses out at Lone Star Park. And then my girlfriend's family actually has a horse ranch, and her dad was a horse trainer for a long time under a very famous trainer for racing horses. So I'm very involved in horses as well, just by chance. And I'm fighting these same entities all the time.
Interesting. And I guess wild horses couldn't drag you guys away, to quote the song, right? Hence the reason why we need the reevaluation, because, you know, at the end of the day, guys, we still live in a monetary world, and this is firepower. the wealth is going to be transferred over to the people that are going to do the right thing. And that's why we're fighting for. We're fighting for the reevaluation, the new ruling class. It's going to be us. There's going to be more of them by a factor of 1,000 to 1, based on the fact that there's only 7,200 multi-billionaires who do absolutely nothing with their money. They're a bunch of useless idiots with their yacht collections and their jet collection and their jet copter, helicopter collection, and their homes that they never get to visit because they have so many of them, and they do nothing for humanity. So that's why we are pushing for the reevaluation, because there's so many things to fix, and you cannot just rely on government. We collectively are Gesara, and it's coming. You agree with that, Joshua?
Oh, I absolutely agree with that. I've been on the Nesara subject for a very long time. There was a gentleman that actually worked in Reagan's administration, also a name I can't think of at the moment, who wrote the Nesara bill that was supposed to be enacted in 2001, but of course 9/11 disrupted that. In fact, he wrote a book called Drain the Swamp, which is why we all hear the term drain the swamp.
Absolutely.
But currently, myself, I am working, I am a sheriff in the Republic of Texas, and I'm a de jure sheriff. I'm not a de facto sheriff. I don't work for the corporate government. I work for a true republic, the Republic of Texas. And my main goal, because my county is the largest county in the Republic of Texas, which is over half of Texas, everything east of the Rio Grande in New Mexico, a quarter of Colorado, a little piece of southern Wyoming, and the southeast corner of Kansas, and the Panhandle, and a little bit more of Oklahoma. So I basically have a whole country that I'm in charge of. And we're currently working with constitutional law enforcement. See, law enforcement is a term that's used very loosely in our country, but there are no law enforcement except for our group. We are constitutionally bonded. We have followed the letter of the law to the T, even their own statute law. And over the next couple of months, we are going into extreme marketing phase. We're calling in all the vets from around the country that want to come and join the constitutional law enforcement. We will deputize you. We are located in 7 states, including BC, and we can form the same corporation, because see, only a corporation can sue a corporation. So our corporation is constitutionally bonded as supposed to be, because none other are, just like no officials, no elected officials in this country are constitutionally bonded. They've all vacated their offices. And all we need is 4 people in these other states to be able to take on and form that same corporation. And we can start deputizing all over the country, go use their own statutes and codes against them, because remember, statutes and codes were created to govern only law enforcement and elected officials. So we are going to be bringing the constitutional law enforcement into the Republic of Texas as well, which ultimately can make the Republic of Texas the strongest nation, the strongest place in America.
Totally. Well, you know, I don't have a problem with people literally becoming sovereign, independent, off-grid, whatever you want to call it. I have no problem what label you give it to as well. My problem is, when I came onto the scene, I immediately recognized one thing, and that one thing was there's a lot of people jockeying for position. There's a lot of people bad-mouthing, oh, these guys are doing it wrong, these guys are doing it wrong. But the problem is, I'm an outsider looking in. And this outsider will tell you emphatically, because I have no hairs on my tongue, and whatever's in here, it comes right out immediately. And a lot of times it gets me in trouble, and I love it. Okay. But the reality is that I wish that all you guys would come together. That was my original plan, because you bring something of extreme value, and a rebel brings something of extreme value. Somebody else brings something of extreme value. Let's get together. Let's get the best points from Joshua. Let's get the best points from the Flynn's. Let's get the best points from my friend Ben Barlow and all these great geniuses out there that have studied this independence, off-grid, sovereign world. And let's build the most incredible cake the world has ever seen and come up with the perfect ingredient, the perfect cake. That was my dream. I'm sorry to announce I failed miserably. So what I did is, okay, not to take sides with you or take sides with anybody, but I want to see who is going to put their money where their mouth is, because I see a lot of jockeying for position without mentioning any names. You guys know who out there. If you're guilty, you're guilty. Okay, we're not going to mention names. I don't want to embarrass you. That's not the premises of the show. However, there's a lot of people jockeying for position because there's a little bit of this to be made here, maybe too much of it. Am I right or am I wrong, Joshua?
Oh, no, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of people charging people for their freedom, and that's not cool. I am a part of a group called America's Assembly. It's America with an S -assembly.com. And we do teach people how to become the non-citizen American national, but we do not charge people for their freedom. Everybody that's volunteered with us is doing it under the service of God, so that we can bring this world back to a beautiful place. And you're right, you know, in a world full of shit, in a world when we're all living in the hell that we are, there are no bad ideas, and we all need to come together. But people have to stand true and in honor. And unfortunately, there's just a lot of people that run with things without fully knowing or without doing, yet they claim that they did, and they don't. And we definitely, it's the age of discernment, and we have to get into the word. We have to learn how to discern. And there's just something about truth, man. When you hear truth, you know it, you feel it. Those goosebumps pop up, and you can't necessarily always listen for that truth when you're desperate. You can't allow yourself to be desperate. Yeah. And that's the whole point of having faith in God.
Right, absolutely. I totally agree with you. So I have a different way of pissing in people's cornflakes, but I do it with class. Okay. And so I said, who's out there that wants to take what they know? And the oldest guys in the space, not that they're old, because there's nobody old on planet Earth and no one's ever died of old age, not to get off subject. But the Flynns have been at this for the longest time than anybody else. Okay. And some of their affidavits were used to win many, many court cases around, you know, the United States for a long time. They have an impeccable, almost impeccable track record. Okay, they won almost every single case, which is unheard of. But there's a special lingo. So I said, who's willing to take the course and give it away for free? And the Flynn said, we'll do it. So we'll put a donate button there for you if somebody wants to donate for your services, but you don't have to fly around the country. We made a 10 video series. They're 2 hours, 2.5 hours each. And people can go to our website, qfs1776.com. And in the menu bar, all the way to the right, it says U.S. Constitution class. It's free of charge. Okay. I would love to bring you and the Flynns and Ben Barlow and Leanna and all these people that are into this stuff. And maybe they'll say, you know, Mel is right. Let's stop, you know, charging people and fleecing people. Not that all these people that I mentioned are. I want to make that very clear. However, let's stop fleecing America when America is down on their freaking knees, begging for somebody to give them something of value that doesn't cost nothing. For those people who have a job or a business and they're willing to donate $50 or $20 or $5, whatever, that money goes to the Flynns. I have all kinds of little income streams coming in. I'm not making millions of dollars, but I keep my head above water. I'm above positive cash flow, etc. I will never ask anybody for a donation. That money goes directly to the Flynns. By doing it this way, it basically sends a message to the entire, you know, independence, off-grid, sovereign industry that, hey, Mel Carmine's giving it away for free. You don't have you don't have to fly to, you know, Oklahoma because someone's having a seminar and you have to rent a car and buy 3 squares and rent a hotel room for 4 days and pay somebody $289 you don't have. I got a problem with that, especially when we're going through a new world order.
I agree with you. You know, everybody's time is valuable. You know, I get it. I mean, the elite globalist system lives off of our sweat and tears. You know, they take everything from us. They suck it out of us. But in this world, we got to help the peasants. You know, the whole point of this country was so that we could all be kings and queens, to get away from peasantry. But here we are again. And I see a lot of desperate people doing anything they can to come up with these funds to be able to pay some of these people to get these things done, to help them out of their issues. And then they're not being helped. People are literally getting passports and all kinds of things and finding out that nothing actually happened. All they did was the same thing they could have done on their own with their own knowledge. And it's just not good. I mean, that the service of God, like I said, once again, man, we got to bring people out of the hole. We got to help bring courage back to people's hearts, not just hopium, but people have got to start learning the rights, and they definitely have to start standing up. And we definitely have to build communities and bring them together. That's another project that I've been working on. I got ROAR United, which is Restoration of American Republic United. And the whole point is to find land all over the country, find the people, the patriots, the special talents, and bring them all to one table to get away from the corporate services and being able to bring everything that we need sustainably to our communities. You know, I'm opening actually a car shop to do oil changes and tires and stuff like that, you know, and I want to be able to bring people into ROAR and not necessarily give everything away at cost, but just enough to keep who's working paid and to make sure that everybody can have the services on their car that they all need. And this is the same kind of idea that we need to take to every industry, to every idea, so that we can all just make sure that we're all good. There's one thing about the Jewish community, right? We know about the Zionists, etc., but they keep their money in their circle. They make sure that everybody around them is growing and building. You know, they're not going and shopping at Walmart and giving their money away to these big monopolized corporate entities. And it's definitely a direction we need to focus on. So I appreciate you bringing that up.
Well, you know, how do you feel about it, Rebel? I mean, do I make sense? It's time to stop, you know, asking people for money they don't have. It's time to stop people to travel to a place they can't afford to travel to and rent a car. And, you know, 3 squares at a restaurant could be royally expensive, to give them the hopium that maybe you're going to get off the grid. Possibly you're going to get off the grid. I know people that have gotten in trouble without mentioning anything. You guys know what I'm talking about, where some people took some money and some people didn't learn the course properly, and they went into court of law and they said the wrong words. Next thing they know, they're in shackles. They're serving a sentence. And these people that took the money are looking the other way and not recognizing that, hey, these people you should take some of that money. You know who you guys are out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but if you guys got blood on your hands, you better make good. We're watching you. Everybody's watching you. We know the stories are real. We can verify them. We're not going to embarrass you by name, at least not today. But you better go and find out which prisons these people are sitting in and get them the hell out of there. You got the money. You're making a lot of money with this stuff. Take some of that money and do the right thing. Rebel, where do you stand on this?
I think you know, and I think Sheriff James knows that when Sheriff Mack started the constitutional sheriffs, I was on board, because the Constitution, which every American needs to read, authorizes and deputizes sheriffs as the rightful, lawful enforcement authority in this country. There isn't any other that is specified in the Constitution. And I mean, Sheriff James can speak to this.
Yeah, please do.
I absolutely will. I completely disagree with you. Sheriff Mack claims to be a constitutional sheriff. He hasn't been a sheriff for, I want to say 20 years, don't quote me, but a while. In fact, him and I got into it at Mike Lindell's last event in Missouri, because he still operates under the color of law. The things that they push still violate people's rights. none of his sheriffs have taken over machines that helped us to put the officials in office. They haven't taken those machines. They haven't taken over the warehouses full of ballots. They haven't gone and arrested anybody in their local county governments or state governments for not being bonded, for misappropriation of funds, for money laundering, for theft of property. They haven't done any of those things, and they do not promote those things. They are de facto sheriffs still. There's a difference between de facto and de jure. And we have to teach de jure, because if you go read the sheriff's handbook, it's fully constitutional. You're not using statutes and codes or administrative codes against the people. And Sheriff Mack absolutely promotes that, period. So I'm sorry to burst your bubble, and I feel where you're coming from. I followed Sheriff Mack for a long time. I was going to put on conferences many years ago and bring him to the table. And a lot of sheriff candidates that were looking up to me for teaching them the process of being a de jure sheriff, that went and met him and was looking up to him, and they thought the same thing. So,
well, you're not bursting my bubble, but my point still is the same. And what you said doesn't undermine or contradict it, which is the Constitution does not authorize other bodies besides sheriffs to enforce the law in America.
But there's the corporate law and there's common law, and they don't enforce they don't enforce the Constitution. They enforce statutes and codes, but they took an Constitution.
I understand that, but how they implement it in practice does not change the written law in the Constitution. You're pointing out that they do not execute in practice what they're supposed to do. That I understand, and I don't disagree, but what you're taking issue with is whether or not they're actually performing their duties as per their constitutional oath.
No, they're actually performing a derelict of duty, because they are not upholding their oath. They're also not bonded. They don't promote bond whatsoever. A sheriff has to, once you take your oath, every state has some sort of procedure to being put into office, and that is being bonded. So like here in New Mexico, for example, you get elected by the electors, you take your oath of office, and then you have 30 days from the time you took your oath of office to go to a local bonding company and purchase an elected official bond. You now bond that oath, that constitutional oath. Now, bonding companies have that elected official bond because they have to operate in business in the state, because that is a constitutional amendment that's never been amended. Well, none of them are doing that. So that means whatever, in every constitution, it's 5 to 30 days, 5, 10, 15, whatever it may be in that state. Once they pass that time frame and they don't bond their oath, they've now forfeited their elected position, which means technically their office is vacant. That's what makes them a de facto corporate sheriff who's now forcing the color of law upon people, and you can't do that as a sheriff. The sheriff is always supposed to be de jure, even if every other position is de facto. That's why we, the people, elect a county sheriff to protect our rights, and our rights are being violated every day. I really like Sheriff Lamb and some of these other sheriffs, and I met them all. They have the good intent in their heart, but they're listening to the attorneys. When they take what I say, they take it to the attorney and they ask the attorney, and the attorney laughs, because that's what attorneys do. We're not even supposed to have attorneys operating in our government, much less telling sheriffs what they're supposed to do. Nobody can tell the sheriffs what to do except for the people. And those sheriffs aren't asking us. Even Sheriff Lamb is pulling people over every day, turning on his emergency lights when there's no victim. You cannot do that. No matter how much we don't want people speeding on the roads or transporting illegal immigrants, across the land, you still can't violate people's rights until there's a victim. Somebody has to be hurt before you can pull somebody over. And that goes for everything that sheriffs do. They're still taking and seizing properties from people who are getting foreclosures from the banks, when in reality, the banks and those officials that allowed those rules and laws, those legislations that pass unconstitutional laws to do those things, they're the ones that should be punished. And as constitutional law enforcement, that's what we're going to go do.
Well, you know what? They're all part of a big fraud. That's why we need Nesara, Gesara. And I got to make this announcement. Big kudos to Il Capo di Tutti Capi, my good friend Mirko. He's my, when I'm not in the room, he's in the room. He's El Capo. He's the boss. Mirko, you're a godsend. I love you, brother. He found the original document, which is going to be added to what? Our website, QFS1776.com, the holy grail of what's to come. The original Gesara, Nesara document has been found. And today, thank you to my good friend Emily from QSI. She took it, she put it in her Telegram channel, and guess who else picked it up? None other than Whiplash. And all of a sudden, we got bombarded with like hundreds and hundreds of people joining my Telegram group. And I said, are we being invaded by bots? What is this? Did somebody hack our system? All of a sudden she comes in, Emily says, no. We put your thing, because this is a huge find, because for months and months, if not maybe years, no one can find the original document. So people say, well, if we can't find it, it doesn't exist. Well, here it is. We got it, baby. And it's going to be added to QFS1776.com. Okay, you guys are crazy not to come in our room, and don't join a million Telegram groups, because you're just going to get confused. We teach you the ABCs, to keep it simple, stupid, of what's to come. And if you stay in our room and you ask questions, you'll never get hurt. If someone comes and says, hey, I'm Mel Carmine, I'm telling you it's a scammer, block them immediately, go back in the room. If somebody approaches you with something that's too good to be true, come back in the room, say, I'm being approached with X, Y, and Z. And I guarantee you're going to save yourself a lot of time, a lot of aggravation, and a lot of money. Okay? We teach what is coming. We teach what will be the law of the land. That's why we need Gesara and Nesara, because under Gesara, Sheriff, we are all sovereign, aren't we?
Yes, sir, we are.
You know, I don't want to have a round table, but I want to have a round table. I want to have a round table with you, Joshua. I want to invite the Flynn's. I want to invite Ben Barlow. I want to invite Leanna. All these people to have a friendly conversation, and hopefully you guys will come to an agreement that say, hey, you know what, Joshua, you bring some good points to the table. Leanna, you bring some great points to the table using the Bible. So-and-so, Ben Barlow, you got some great points. Let's build the most amazing cake the world has ever seen. And let's add to the course that's called U.S. Constitution class on our website, and let's make it even a better product. And let's give it away to the people for free. Free, no charge, zero. Can you guys afford zero? I think you all can. You know, that's where my heart is at. I wear my heart on my sleeve. Sometimes it gets me in trouble. I'm not here for a popularity contest, and I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Are you feeling me?
Oh, amen, brother.
You know,
I'm the same way. Full armor of God, man. I'm going to live for truth. I'm going to speak truth. I'm going to have full faith that I'm going to be taken care of and protected, as I always am. Same thing. I just barely survive a lot of the times, and God always provides.
Absolutely. Joshua, how do people find you? Blurb out your thing, and we'll put your information down below. Okay. And I want to talk about some stuff that I think needs to be talked about, because it's being overlooked in the community of podcasting. And I've developed my own philosophy, and I'm always right when it comes to this stuff. There's three ways to do things: the right way, the wrong way, and the way that I do it. Right. And I think you'll agree with my philosophy, but how do people find you real quick?
SheriffJoshuaJames.com. I'm in the process of updating the website from running for the corporate sheriff. You can still find us at thetexasrepublic.com. That is the Republic of Texas website, and Americas-assembly.com. And then you can find me on all platforms at Sheriff Joshua James, Twitter, Sheriff J. James. And by the way, Twitter has just been amazing lately, having these open spaces, uncensored. We can say anything and everything, never have to worry about what we say, and we're not getting shut down. It is absolutely amazing. And the people that pop into these conversations, I was literally in a group of like 80 some people, and then Elon Musk pops in, and next thing you know, there's 7,000 people in the group. Everybody's being able to ask these people questions. It was absolutely phenomenal, man. It's definitely some hope.
Kudos to Elon Musk and my brother Elon Musk. I don't know if you'll ever get to meet Mel Carmine, but if you by chance happen to stumble across this crazy Italian that lives down here in Costa Rica with this crazy ass chair, would you do me a favor? Would you do us all a favor and buy YouTube, okay, right before we're ready to turn on the switch? This way, YouTube is, you're holding, US dollars, which is probably going to be less valuable than monopoly money, right? Correct? You buy it today, say, hey, we're going to give you $1 trillion for YouTube. And the next day you go, as soon as the money lands, you hit the switch and we go over to the new system. Wouldn't that be wonderful?
It's coming, baby. It's coming.
Let me tell you something. The truther movement, the patriot movement, the Christian movement is not very much different than the, becoming sovereign movement. There's a lot of people here jockeying for position. My commercials in the beginning, it's 2 minutes and 3 seconds long. I tell you everything we got. You go to our website, qfs1776.com/shop. You shop, you do whatever. Okay. And that's it. There's some people coming on now, these podcasts are like 40 minutes. It's an infomercial about buying products all the time. People get tired of that stuff real fast. You want to buy gold, you want to buy silver, everything's right there. You just click it. I don't even want to have it, just two minutes in the beginning. That's it. And there's a lot of people that are in this podcast business. And I'm not going to call them out by name because they know who they are. They're not they say, I'm a Christian. I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a patriot. And it's just words. They are meaningless. They have no meaning whatsoever. It's just a bunch of hogwash, hot air bullshit. It's like, for example, I'll invite somebody to my show, and they all talk abundance out of one side of their mouth, but their mindset is scarcity. They have a small chicken brain. I don't want to insult chickens. Okay? And they don't practice what they preach. What's that?
Said you can't serve two masters.
Exactly. And it's like if you have a podcast, right, Sheriff, and I got a podcast, and you got 5,000 or 50,000 or 15,000, doesn't matter, right? And we agree to cross-pollinate, and I send you my links, you send me your links, I put our video on our channel, and it's cross-pollination. It's so healthy. It's such a healthy ecosystem to do it that way. Nobody can argue with me on this. Anybody wants to, you're more than welcome to come on my show because I will eat your lunch. Right?
No, I actually teach the same thing in the political realm, in the corporate world, because I ran for sheriff in the political realm, and everybody's so heart set on Democrat or Republican, and they're both corrupt. Why don't we all run as independents? We all run together. We put our money together. We do commercials together. We travel together, the state, and we make sure everybody knows who we are, and that we don't support these entities, because the only way to run in the de facto system as an American is to be independent. Once you join those systems, you're no longer an American running for office.
Yeah, I made a recording, and I know it lives somewhere on my Telegram group still. The day that they took down Nicholas Vienneman, he's a fabulous podcaster. I study him. I don't think I'll ever be as good as you, Nicholas. You're amazing. Nicholas Vienneman, all of a sudden, 157,000 busting his ass, doing podcasts every single day. From one day to the next, boom, they shut him down. What if we had a coalition of real, true patriot, where the word patriot for once, it really means something and not just freaking hot air. I almost said the F word. I did, but it's a different F word. So, you know what I mean? And we all, let's say, for example, we have a coalition of 200 or 400 or 500 or 1,000 podcasters who really live patriotism, who really live Christianity. and they're not just words, who really live abundance. And they take you down. And let's say, for argument's sake, Sheriff, you got 50,000 or 150,000 people. We immediately know, because we're all part of the same team and we're all working together. Together, everybody achieves more, right? Say, hey, they just took the sheriff down. He had 150,000 subscribers. We all go on our channels and we build you back up instantly. You know why? To send the enemy a message that we cannot be messed with, because together we're strong.
I completely agree. I mean, over the last 15 years of being on all these different social networks, I have in the past built up giant numbers. I had millions on Twitter back in the day, and they took it all away. All it did was make me not want to put the effort into trying to do it. And everybody's fighting for it. And I'm on all the platforms, but I don't care. All I'm trying to do is plant seeds. People are always going for the low-hanging fruit, and work hard for not the low-hanging fruit, man. Climb that tree and find the best piece of fruit that's been getting the best sun and the best clean air. You know,
Right.
Don't just jump to things so fast. And these days, so many people are new to this realm. Some of us have been involved in conspiracy and all these things. Me, myself, since I was a little kid, I just turned 40. And I see people just jump on, and pretty quickly their ego can be like, I know new stuff now. Well, yeah, it's not everything though. There's more to learn. The rabbit hole never ends, ever. So just take it all in. Take it all in. The stuff you don't want to believe, take it all. Go listen to everybody, because you'll hear those breadcrumbs all over the place where everybody's got a little piece of the puzzle. We're living in an illusion and the world is a stage.
But can you imagine if everybody did what I just explained and made that exact thing become a breathing, living entity, where hundreds of podcasters would have came to the aid of Nicholas Vienneman? Nicholas, you got shut down. Don't worry about it, brother. We got your back. We got your back, bro. Okay, now you got the Nino Rodriguez's and the Scott McKays and the Mel Carmines and the, what's her name? My good friend over there, Arcana Shores, all coming to the aid of a fellow patriot. Doesn't matter. He's not in the United States. He's got patriot blood. He's one of us. Right? And we all come on our channels, which got tens of thousands. Next thing you know, he opens up another channel on the same broadcast, right? Same name, maybe a little bit different. We advertise him, and within a weekend, he's got his 157,000 followers back. That's like saying, screw you, man.
I agree. That sounds great. It's exactly the idea. And if we can all get together and push that, you're right.
That's the way podcasting should be done. It shouldn't be done any other way. If someone's got a better way, I'm all ears. If you don't believe in what I'm saying, and you have that chicken brain mentality about, oh, this is mine, wrong mentality. Yep. Rebel, you agree with me or disagree with me?
I totally agree with you. And that's one of the problems that you and I've talked about in the past, which is, as we think about how to shift consciousness and grow abundance and let go of the old ways of thinking and the frameworks that we were programmed to believe that were real, that are not real, part of bringing more and more people into this movement, part of bringing more and more light to every human and reconnecting every human to their God source, is all about bringing information to people. And the best way to bring information to people is if people know where to find it. And that is one of the biggest things that I talk about with you regularly, which is people, even well-intentioned people, good-hearted people, critical thinking people, don't have the time and the ability to sift through all these different channels and fighting so many of the times, like you've talked about, when these podcasters or posters or whistleblowers or whatnot get, shut down, forced onto new names, et cetera, we need a central repository where everyone knows they can go, no matter who's speaking, who's presenting, whose ideas are being aired, We need a place where people can find information, and not necessarily from any one voice, and not necessarily even from voices that agree. It doesn't matter whether people agree. It matters more that people communicate. It matters more that our First Amendment right is protected. And it matters more that we practice listening to each other and entertaining new ideas that stretch our brains out of our old ways of looking at the world. That perception shift is what fixes our society.
I'll give you a classic example. My good friend, Joe Rosati. I love Joe and Scott. They just opened up their channel. I don't remember, but I'll leave a link down below because they need the notoriety. They're doing a great job. They're doing a fantastic job. He was he's been a student of becoming an actor for a long, long time. He's very talented, extremely talented. And Joe proceeded to send me some links based on a conversation that we had recently of him, trying to break into the acting industry. But he's now an actor, and he owns the studio, he owns the cameras, he owns it all, right? Until we could take over fully. Joe comes on the scene. Joe's got 287 subscribers. That's the number on Rumble. Okay, he's starting out, like anybody else. All of a sudden, he does a fabulous, and I'm gonna give these guys some kudos because they deserve kudos, and I give credit where credit is due. And SG Anon and Derek Johnson come on to his show. They did an incredible show, but because SG Anon and because Derek Johnson are stand-up guys, they took that show and put it on their channels. Joe Rosati goes from 287 subscribers to 17,000 subscribers in like 2 weeks. And I called him, I said, congratulations. And he said, Mel, because you're the only one. You're the only one that congratulated me. I said, you got to be shitting me. You see what I'm saying? They're all trying to protect their little craps game. Chicken brains. Chicken brains. And I'm going to call them out because we're either going to get this right, because if you have that kind of mentality and you're saying that you're fourth dimensional or you're graduating to fourth dimensional, but you still got a 3-dimensional or 2-dimensional mind, shame on you. I'm calling the industry out because the industry needs to be rethunk. I don't even know if that's a word, but if it isn't, it is now.
And I believe that's why we're going through all this. We have to hit all those humps because you have to live it to see it. You can't just have vision and knowledge out of nowhere. You got to live it. You got to have the experience.
Right.
We're all experiencing the roller coaster.
I'm in this for humanity. I'm a gangster for humanity. I'm going to live or die on the battlefield trying to save the little guy. And to me, this is not just words. I live what I say. I live what I preach. I'm not a big Bible thumper, but I try to live my life the best that I can, the most, truth, logic, and common sense way that I possibly know how. And if everybody would do that, truth, logic, and common sense, that comes from Ted Nugent. I saw Ted Nugent, not to get off track, but I saw him at the Giant Stadium back in 1978 or 79. I would love to have Ted, Uncle Ted, if you're out there, brother, come on the show. Can you imagine Mel Carmine with Ted Nugent? Oh my God, that would be explosive. So guys, is there anything else we need to talk about? Josh, go ahead and blurb out your information on how to get to you. Besides, it would be right down below as well. Rebel doesn't have a podcast yet, but I think maybe she's thinking about it. If I could read her mind properly. Am I reading you right there, Rebel?
I'm just here to support all the work that all the good people I respect are doing. I have no intention of starting my own podcast.
And that's okay. You're a superstar anyway, and you can come on the show anytime you want.
Thank you, Mel.
Rebel's heart is so in the right place. It's like you meet these people along the way, this journey, and you can't help but fall in love.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mel.
Guys, we'll catch you on the next one before I get emotional. Oh, they want to go there.